Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, ANITA FINLEY.
This Old Body, what a name of a book. That's the book that we featured in our July issue. It's by Barbara Greenleaf, and right now Barbara is calling in from Santa Barbara, which is a lovely place in California. She sounds like she's right here in the studio, but that's because she's such a pro. Let me just tell you something about Barbara. Barbara is a very talented writer. She's applied her communications and consulting skills to the corporate world. And she has a husband, John, and they have 2 daughters, but she kind of picks on him in this book. Does he know this?
Oh, he's such a good sport. He's read every word, Anita, but he's getting a lot of ribbing from his man pals, boy pals.
Right.
Yes, but that shows he has a strong ego.
Right, but it really applies to so many people, and your titles are really good. You know, in a book, the titles for each chapter make you either want to go into that chapter or not, but some of your chapters, you know, if droopy eyelids work for Robert Mitchum, why don't they work for me, right? I mean, where does this come into your mind? How do you get these ideas?
You know, I have no idea, because I was really always not a serious person, but certainly a serious writer. I think actually starting to do some art unlocks something in my brain, which is your more creative side, your left side. Anyway, unlock something, and I just began to go for it, which I think is one of the great things about being older. You say, what the hell? You just give it a try, you know? Yeah. You're not so worried about the downside.
Well, and of course, you've written other books, but is this your best book in a sense of it's very popular?
I hope so. I think so. Although my first book, which was a history of immigration, was in every library. So that was a terrific sale as well.
Oh, wow. Now it would be fantastic, wouldn't it?
Please.
Yeah.
But this is, yes, the most popular, I would say. You know, it applies to most people
Sure.
of a certain age.
Yeah. Like one of the titles, a married man walks into a clothing store. You don't even have to go any further. You just know what's going to happen there. It's just great.
It's funny you mentioned that, because, a friend was saying that her husband won't even go into the clothing store. She has to go get the clothes, bring them home, have them try it on at home, bring them back. Oh, yes, these men.
Yeah, well,
adorable as they are.
Now that's really. How long have you been married?
It'll be 54 years.
Oh, you're so young and beautiful. 54 years. He got you as a baby.
He did.
Oh.
He did, and I felt he was going to be the one right away. I had a premonition.
Oh, well, okay. So now the big question is, why did you decide to write this book with what this is? Because it's kind of like you could be a stand-up comic, and I know that's some of the stuff you do with this.
Thanks, Anita. Well, apparently I write where I am. I wrote a history of childhood. I wrote Help, a Handbook for Working Mothers when I was a working mother, and the other when I had small children. So now, I realized that my parts were falling apart. And, I could either cry or laugh. So I started to laugh and had others laughing with me.
Yep. It's funny, the very first article, it's called Hair, the reality, not the musical. Everything that you said in there, I mean, in fact, I read it to my to my hairstylist last week when I was there, because I have that thing in the back, where the hair parts and where the gray shows, and it looks terrible. So I actually bought a wig. All the things that you have in this.
I know. Well, that's what people say. They can really relate, or I think Barbara is talking just to me. I mean, nobody gets out unscathed. So
that's true.
We're all in this together.
Okay, so how long did this, from the time that you conceived this and you wrote it, how long did it take you?
I'd say about 1.5 years. And it wasn't a book originally. I would just write the little article, and then I started to be published on BOOMERcafe.com, and then I started to do a little reading aloud. And eventually I said, well, I think I have enough for a book. And then I scoured the sources to find the very best quips. because there's a lot of stupid stuff that's written about aging. But I wanted to be fresh and kind of clever and witty. So I hope I did that.
Oh, you did. I mean, I actually, when I first opened your book, I then saw that you were writing these little quotations, and so I went through every one of them because, they were really good. And rarely, but if I have space, I'm going to use one. I'll attribute it to you. But when I'm writing them Boomer Times, because they're very clever, very clever.
Good,
yeah, they
good. I'm glad. Yeah, and the humor is clean, and it applies to men and women. So, I think everybody can share. And I think that's one of the joys, is sharing the humor and getting that shock of recognition from your friends.
Mm-hmm. And this is the best. This is so true, but no one would admit it. Thanksgiving, the holiday meal from hell. Oh, my heavens. I've often said we work so hard. It's eaten within maybe 2 hours. And then you've exhausted everything. You're full. It's like, why do we do this?
Well, now I don't. This year, for the first time, we went out. I took everybody out, and here's the hilarious part. Not one person ordered turkey. We went to a seafood restaurant, and I have a daughter who's a vegetarian. I have another one who only eats chicken, and then, on and on. And really, my husband and I shared a lobster. I mean, it's so funny.
That is
and
funny.
here all these articles about how to make the perfect turkey with the brine. I have another daughter just with the brine, and enough.
Right, that's true.
And then we come back and we play bingo and we watch a movie.
Right.
And that's it. Yeah.
Well.
But those meals.
Yeah, I know, but it's just the tradition. I think that's what gets everybody.
That's true.
That people do say, okay, we're going to have Thanksgiving dinner together, because so many families now don't get together, and there are people who actually travel hundreds, thousands of miles to share Thanksgiving with one another.
Right. Oh, I'm not putting down the holiday. It is quite a wonderful holiday, but I am making fun of everybody's eating predilections. Right. In fact, as you may have noticed, I have a little poem called Kale is the Holy Grail this week.
Yes.
And, that's about all the fetishes around food nowadays.
No, that's true. It is. It's okay, though. It's fun, and it does get us away from the TV. It does give some people some laughter.
True.
But the one thing, though, our grandchildren or your children or young children, they do look forward to it because it's talked about in school, and there are children that don't have a place to go. And so I remember, and you're going to love this story, I've had the radio show for a long time, and I know that there are older people who didn't have a place to go. So I always we wound up with 25 people at our home and family members and close friends. And then one day I said on the radio show before Thanksgiving, look, if any of you don't have a place to go, call me and you can come to my house for Thanksgiving. Well, my husband, he said, what did you do? I said, well, no one's going to call. Well, I had about 25 strangers come.
Wow.
They were very nice. They were very nice, and they came for years because I always did have a big Thanksgiving. Now, I, of course, let the grocery store make the turkey, but I did do a lot of those, and everybody likes to come and bring something, so between everybody, it was fine. These people came, and then this couple died off, and this person died off. For years, I had strangers come. Isn't that funny?
Oh, wow. Well, good for you. That's a lovely story.
Yeah.
And
it's kind of funny. I could have had thousands, but, no, people aren't going to do that, but it was very interesting. And,
yes.
I'm just going to say, and just to end this, the other day, I met someone. I didn't even remember who they were. They said, oh, Anita, do you remember me? I came to your house for Thanksgiving one year. And, of course, I didn't remember who they were.
Oh.
So,
Well, your heart was in the right place.
Right. Okay, so now your turn.
No, I was just going to say one of my most memorable Thanksgivings was that I have my daughter's father-in-law was ambassador to Poland, and a very imposing kind of a guy. But I didn't like to socialize too much. But what he liked to do was the dishes. And so that Thanksgiving, is that crazy? So to avoid probably talking to people, and I don't know, to be useful, he was planted in front of the sink, and it was, like a crime scene where you could have put, a yellow line around where his feet were,
right.
And they just were, that was it. And boy, was he a pleasure. I wanted to get him back.
Oh my God! Now he just wanted to do dishes,
right? And he was good at it too, and pots and pans. I mean, we're not just discussing knives and forks.
Right. Well,
it was wonderful.
Yeah, it is. There's. I was thinking about that we all have our dishwashers, but there's a lot of stuff that doesn't come off in the dishwasher, so you stand there kind of scrubbing it off before you put it in there. And there's that commercial, a little girl says, "Mommy, why do you wash the dishes before you put it in the dishwasher?"
Yeah, well, I agree with you. I do, and I feel silly, but I've had like these claw-handled pincers, and they're perfectly clean, but they come out holding a piece of steak, so no good.
Right.
That's out.
Okay,
yeah.
So in all this that you wrote about, what if you were to write the book again, another book? What did you miss? What would you have done that you didn't get in this, or you didn't have enough room or something?
Well, it's so interesting you mentioned that, Anita, because people just expect me to keep going on and on writing funny things.
Right.
And I think the book kind of stands on its own, although I am starting to do research into why the physical changes that come when you laugh. And there is really good science about how laughter is so great for our health, how it, for everything, for your heart, for your lungs, for your stomach. It just actually, you have physical changes when you laugh. And so, I don't know, maybe I'll do another book about that, why laughter really is the best medicine. And that's something I'm going to be speaking about, maybe even in your neck of the woods.
Oh, that would be wonderful. Oh, I look forward to that. Well, let me also tell you, there is a company. The man runs the company, and he says when he answers the phone, "Happy day." His name is Jeff, but it's Happy Day Jeff, and that's what he does. And when he says that, no matter what's happened, you have to smile.
Yeah, and if you do your little experiment in which you smile at people, you get so many smiles back. And when you're grumpy, nobody really wants to be with you. So laugh and the world laughs with you, and cry and you cry alone. So it's just so true. And I've been doing that little experiment and finding that it holds up.
Well, I want everyone to know that those of you who have the July issue of Boomer Times, you will see Barbara's wonderful book review, This Old Body, and 90 Other Reasons to Laugh at Life. I didn't say that when I first introduced it. And Barbara's last name is Greenleaf. And Barbara wrote a fabulous little book. And I call it little. It's chock full of everything. It's something you can hold in your hand. You can read through it. And you will laugh. And you will... you'll recognize a lot of things that you feel the same way about. But she's a good writer. She's an excellent writer. So when she says this, when she writes about certain people and what they thought, it just hits home. I'll give you some example. So if you're, let's just take this, for instance, the title Valentine's Day. Say it with brisket. Now... Well, it's not something we would normally do. We're going to get cards and we're going to do it. So what made you think about Say It with Brisket?
Because that really is my husband's favorite. And, while this book is, a book of fiction, it's all drawn from life.
Right.
And so he begs me to make it, and I barely eat, that kind of meat. And it's so messy. But okay, I'll make it. And it's the one place where I do have a recipe. And what's funny about that is, in order to get really good flavor, I think you have to leave it out overnight. Just to assure people, everyone's going to come down with ptomaine poisoning, and rush to the hospital. No, at least not here in Santa Barbara. We have no humidity, so it's fine. The flavor develops. I don't know, I just got a big kick out of it, but it's very messy. So I keep trying to look for an alternative that I can give my husband, but he's not the pinky ring type, and I don't know what to do with him. And he makes such a fuss over holidays, and we never celebrated any holidays in our home, and he keeps bringing it up, how I didn't give him a card on the first Valentine's Day, and he all these years, a half century later. And he brought me roses and cards and everything. So, I'm panicky starting the 1st of January. What am I going to do for this guy? So I, give him a special meal, maybe.
Right. Give him a special meal or something like that, right?
Right.
So let's see. So the one thing that I featured, because I just loved him, saving it for last, 5 secrets of a successful marriage. The first comment, this is hysterical. Don't talk and don't listen. How is that possible? Oh my God.
I know. Yeah, let me see if I have a little quote from that story, which is so funny. And other people like decoding the language of love. Like when, in this case, the husband says, "This garage is really messy." Doesn't mean he's going to clean the garage,
right.
But, he pointed it out so he can feel very virtuous. Let's see, a bathroom of one's own.
Oh, yeah, that's the one I want to say next, the bathroom of one's own. Now, we know that bathrooms are big discussion. When I have a guest bathroom, and sure enough, when the person leaves, they're clean, they're nice, they leave the lid up on the toilet.
But, a deadly sin.
I know it, and they know, and I guess they don't know any better, or that's what they do at home. And I don't know why is it. Why is it a deadly sin? I feel that way too. But what is it that turns us off so much about that?
Well, I grew up in a house of women, so it's particularly sensitive about that. I don't know. It just because that he was there and he did his business and.
I don't know, but
appeal.
That is funny because we make a big thing of it. But I'm like that. I always go in and check after someone has gone to make sure the lid is down. That's okay. And then it's you eat your food and I'll eat mine. What about that?
Right. Well, my husband and I have very different eating habits, and I have another story called "If he didn't eat it when he was 5, he ain't going to eat it now."
Right.
It's very limited. So it's very discouraging to cook for him, let me put it that way. So we have EMFH, every man for himself. So there's sometimes he's just got to forage, and, his idea of the food groups, the basic food groups would be a hot dog, a hamburger, and maybe a piece of bacon, for dinner. So it's hopeless.
Oh, no,
and early on,
great.
I decided I wasn't going to be his mother, but, so that's why I make fun.
Yeah, I know, but it's lovely. But and I'm sure he makes fun of you, too. This is your side to him. But if he wrote the book, what would he be saying?
Well, I can tell you because he does. I pack 2 weeks in advance. He packs in 5 minutes. I have everything scheduled. When we're going to discuss something, we have to have a meeting. We don't just say it, And so I have my own little rigid things, probably big rigid things. And they're funny. I think as we get older, we recognize that we can laugh at these things. Although they're annoying, they're also what make us who we are, human.
Funny you should mention that. I'm more like your husband with packing.
Oh, really?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh.
I take a couple of hours before we leave if I'm going on a flight, and I pretty much know it. I just put it in it, and he, because I have to wear things that day that I may be packing. No, I'm just like that. But my husband, unfortunately, he passed away a couple of years ago, and he was great, though, about, he had everything organized. He did all that, and that's not how I am. But we were together for 43 years, so something must have worked.
You got it.
Right.
Of course. And I think that's, we cut each other some slack as we get older, and that's another beautiful thing about aging, is you put things in perspective. Things that just used to drive you up the wall, you see now you can laugh or walk away. And I guess you do acquire wisdom, as you get older.
Yeah.
And
listen, I have to tell you this one. This was a secret 4. This really turned me on. Let him have his fantasies as long as you can have yours. You put it right out there. You put it right out there, right?
I know, and it's so funny. The Scarsdale kid, my husband, and he dreams of riding the range, with his tool belt and his Stetson hat.
Really?
And I dream of I'm not kidding, and I dream of being a showgirl, and
Ziegfeld
it's so
Foley, right?
funny. Yeah, that's right. With all the sequins and everything. Of course, now I couldn't stand that long, certainly not in high heels.
Well, let me tell you that at our Boomer Expo, that is coming up next week, we do have some of the Ziegfeld Folly ladies, people that were in the various shows, and some of them are in their 70s, 80s, and they wear the headdresses and they walk through. We do that for about 30 minutes off and on. And the other thing you're going to love, talk about fantasies. That's great for the guys. The fantasies, I wanted to liven up the place a little bit so that people didn't leave too early. So I went into Fort Lauderdale, and I went to one of these strip clubs for men, and I found, gorgeous guys stripping, of course, and all the way down. And so I said, okay, I want to have 3 of these men, but they can't strip lower than their waist. But I want, everything else to be exposed. And my staff thought I was crazy. And I said, no, I know what they like. So we had them come 2 times ago. We call them the Boomer Boys, Boyz. And it is the people now want to come to the expo, but you want to know when the Boomer Boys are going to be there. There are people in their late
wonderful?
90s. The men dance with them. They do So, I mean, it's just, when I was thinking of fantasy, those are the fantasies.
Right. That's right. We're not dead yet, and we can keep looking, and it's fun. In fact, when my husband sees a beautiful girl, he tugs on my arm and says, look at her, look at her.
Oh,
we both enjoy her. It's
right.
cute. Yeah,
Well,
it's really cute, Anita. Well, you're a wonder. That's all I can say.
Well,
you just keep going like the Energizer Bunny.
Right. My husband did like to look at gorgeous women and all their properties, and when I went through a lot of his things, and I knew he watched them, and there's a lot of these, I guess I'll call them porno flicks, they're in the CDs, and there they are, and he enjoyed them, and that's fine. But that's what we talk about with the fantasies. But as long as everybody's open and honest, and you make it very funny, but these are real life situations. And,
of course.
And you have to be able to realize what I think you said so well, Barbara, that we are 2 human beings put together, living day and night with one another, if the marriage works. And you do have to just assume that, that other person has its own likes and dislikes. And the way you put it, though, you make it that one can laugh at it, which is really important.
It's so important, and to be able to laugh at ourselves as well. And I just did want to say one other thing, Anita, so everybody can share this, that the book is available on Amazon and Kindle and in print. So This Old Body, if you need a laugh yourself or you want to cheer up a pal or it's his birthday, I hope you'll take a look.
Oh, if you just buy it, and it's not expensive, it's really something that it's only $15, $14.95, but the thing is, you're going to want to give it as a gift. So maybe you buy it, you read it yourself, and then you give it as a gift, or just buy them. It's a perfect time when you need to buy gifts. Just buy 4 or 5 of them, have them at the house, and then pass it along, because it really is good, really.
Oh, that's so kind of you. Yes, and people are buying multiples, which is very heartening, and sending it to friends across the country, and even packing them if they're going to be house guests. And as you said, the book is small in size, and so they can take it with.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right. Have it in your spare bedroom where they stay, and just say, "This is my gift to you." As a matter of fact, of course, you have to be careful who you give this to. Not everybody's going to think it's funny. Some people are really uptight about a lot of things, and they would not think that, even though we know it's funny, they might see it as something that we're picking on them with. You know that.
I haven't found that. I mean, I can.
You don't know some of the people I know.
There.
That's why. No. It's like make fun of Thanksgiving. Are you kidding? You're not going to have a bird there? Are you kidding? What kind of nonsense is this, right?
Yeah. Well, it's true. Once upon a time, we were, for example, able to make fun of our children. Was Sam Levinson at one of those comics used to say, "Oh yes, mental illness is catching. You get it from your children." Well, today nobody would say that, because now it's a sacred cow.
Right. Right.
But, people of a certain age, I hope, can still laugh at a lot of this.
And then Going with the Grudge. That was another chapter that I recall.
Oh, yes.
Wasn't it about, oh, yeah, we can't go to sleep without, making up. Well, sometimes I'm not making up. It's not, I don't care. What you did was terrible.
That's right. I mean, yeah, all these platitudes, I think, are given by people who never were married. I don't know.
Right. I am now going to I graduated in Miami Beach High School, and the big reunion is coming up. And so I haven't gone, but I'm going to go to this one, and I'll bet that would be funny. That would be a great book to write about, right?
That's a very good point, yes. And who comes back? There have been all kinds of studies. Were they big men on campus, when they were in school, or were they more successful when they got out? And, it's so interesting. Yeah, the psychology of who comes back.
No, I forget.
Well, you obviously are a success.
Well, wait, I forget. Where did you grow up? I don't remember.
I'm a New Yorker. You can hear my accent.
Right. So you grew up in New York.
And I can really, yeah. Well, I'm a Long Island girl, actually, where everything was flat. Yes. And hills are a big issue with me. But, yes, I can say coffee and walk me and pocketbook. I can really put it on.
Well, you're so good. Well, I guess we run out of time. We're going to have another interview yet. We're not finished another time. But, Barbara, it was just such a pleasure. I mean, I probably laughed too much, and my audience thinking I'm crazy. But it was just a fabulous book.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I just want people to buy it and use it as a lovely gift for somebody, and just for yourself. Just enjoy it. So thank you very much, and I'll get back.
You.
I'll talk to you again.
I look forward to it, Anita.
All right. Bye, Barbara.
Be well, and have a successful expo.
Yeah, we're sold
Bye-bye.
out. Thank you.
Oh, great.
Yeah, right.
Wonderful.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.